All right, everyone, welcome back into another props video. Going to be breaking down the top prop bets for the 6-game slate that we have for the early slate. I'm going to be breaking tomorrow's action down into 2 separate videos because there's a lot of games going on tomorrow, guys, and it takes a lot of time to give you guys the breakdown and to do the research for you guys. So we'll start with those early games, and then if you guys want the PM action, I'll probably be coming out with that, I don't know, mid-Saturday morning tomorrow with the rest of those picks for those later games. So with that, let's go ahead and get into today's video. And so, as always, I do like to start off with a quick slate preview, if you will. Okay, looking at the first game, guys, it is interesting. So the Eagles are not going to be starting their starters, but yeah, Dylan Gabriel most likely playing the full game in that game. We'll touch on that in a little bit here. Interesting spot there. Shedeur Sanders is going to be out as well. Tyler Huntley, maybe he'll play a little bit if Dylan Gabriel can't go. So interesting stuff there. But a little bit shocked that Eagles are 4.5-point favorites because some of the Browns starters are expected to play limited snaps. We look at the Patriots versus the Vikings. Nothing too crazy there. Close game there. Lions versus Miami. I'm going to start the video out with covering the Dolphins. There's one player that really stood out to me last week that I want to touch on for you guys, and we're getting a decent line for him. But here's the most interesting game, I would say. So you got the Colts 6-point favorites in that game, and it's over and under of 40.5. Now, the Green Bay Packers are extremely banged up at the receiver position. We'll touch on any prop bet opportunities there. Then you also have the Colts still trying to do their quarterback battle there with Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson. Daniel Jones is expected to start and then basically play up until the point of with Anthony Richardson got injured, and then you're going to have Anthony Richardson then take over. So they're going to have the same equal playing time pretty much. But that game's a blowout. We might have to do some game script bets based off of that, and I do think there is an opportunity for that. And then the next 2 games, higher scoring games for sure, interesting there, but both games are going to be close enough for us. The Niners are still pretty banged up there as well. But yes, I do want to start off with the Miami versus Detroit game here for you guys. There's one player that to me kind of stands out in terms of what he did on film and really my expectations for him tomorrow as well. And that player is going to be Taj Washington. So I do think that we're going to maybe look to bet on his over receiving yards of 22.5. And I say maybe because he did only play 15 snaps last week. To me, that is concerning, but he was very productive in those 15 snaps. And I'm just going to let this clip play out from Phil on Taj Washington. Had that really good catch in the middle there. Obviously, great hands there. Just looks quick on this play. Makes a defender miss, gets a few extra yards. Kind of shows that burst that, I think they're looking for a Tyreek Hill replacement. And then just watch the ankles that he breaks on this play, guys. Just phenomenal. Oh, and then he's up the field. So very solid film for Washington. That's kind of the fun for me of watching all the games as well. Ollie Gordon also looked good in that game as well. The issue for us with Miami is predicting the playing time. Ollie Gordon is going to be someone that makes sense to get a lot of playing time. But my wonder with Taj Washington is did he only play 15 snaps because they're kind of trying to hide him because Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill are banged up? We have seen that happen in the past preseasons. That's my biggest concern. If we got some sort of confirmation that he was going to be playing a full half of snaps, I'd be so much more inclined to bet on him. But I did want to call that out to you guys. One player that did get a lot of targets, and I don't think we need to bet on his over, was Malik Washington, a player that really stood out last year in the preseason as well. But the player to me that makes the most sense to get a lot of work because they're going to want to get a good look at him is Ollie Gordon. Guys, Ollie Gordon ended up playing 22 snaps last week, ended up getting 8 carries for 33 yards, had a touchdown, and had a pretty big play in the passing game as well. 1-yard reception for 39 yards. Now, what's interesting about this spot is Alexander Madison, who I kind of thought was going to be their goal line running back. He's on the IR. He's done for the season. Really unfortunate for him. He did not look bad last week. But they ended up signing 2 running backs, Mike Boone and then Aaron Shampling there as well. They just signed. I'm not sure if we're expecting them to get that much work. So that really leaves them with Gordon and Jalen Wright. So that leaves them with not that many active bodies. Jalen Wright, they will get a decent amount of work to, I think. But you also have Gordon there who looked impressive. Might as well give him some work as well. So I kind of expect those 2 to play a majority of the game. Then you have Mike Boone and Shampling coming in the fourth quarter. Just to keep those guys so they're not, getting banged up at the start of the season. Now, again, though, the issue is, all right, they are shorthanded at running back. Gordon did look good. Maybe they don't need him to show out. Maybe that's a concern for us. Ezekama is one that could get some work as well. They like him there, but overall, I don't know if we necessarily see that many big edges. Quinn Ewers looked kind of bad after getting a bunch of hype out of camp. So that was kind of surprising. And you also have Zach Wilson, guys. Zach Wilson is so interesting. Like, he looked fine on normal plays, but if you get a hand in his face, he is just cannot complete a pass. It was just crazy. He cannot throw off balance like that. Should have had an easy touchdown to Tanner Connor, did not complete that. Okay, so now we jump on into Detroit. Okay, Detroit is kind of the same stuff, guys. Hendon Hooker, he hasn't really looked good thus far as preseason. Kyle Allen, I will say again, if we get him playing a full half of football, I tend to like his over here of 85.5. He seems to be, to me, winning the QB2 position, although it seems like people want Hendon Hooker to outplay him. That seems to be the consensus there. The first game, the Hall of Fame game, 14 pass attempts, 91 yards. Then the second game, 8 pass attempts, but really dominated there, guys, as well. So, a little bit there, but not enough for me to go crazy with. Isaac Tesla, the question with him is how many snaps is he going to play in this game? I actually played a little bit more than I was expecting last week. Still looked good last week, guys. And then just another player that kind of stood out to me last week, guys, was Jacob Sayers there for the Detroit Lions, the rookie running back there. Ended up not playing that many snaps, like 17 snaps in total, but he made the most out of it. And it's a spot where he ended up sitting out in the Hall of Fame game, so it kind of makes sense for him to get some run in this game here as well. Just showed good burst, good vision, nothing elite, but good enough. And so I will say his line is at about 20.5 on both sites. I think it'd be fine getting to his over, but that does feel like we're forcing it a little bit. Really, in this game, we're getting a lot of players that are kind of fun to watch, but not maybe the massive edges that we would really want for a big slate like we are getting. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into that Green Bay versus Indiana game. Okay, or Indianapolis game, sorry. Interesting spot, I will say. Okay, so I would expect Richardson and Daniel Jones to throw the football a decent amount, although I just don't know how much Daniel Jones is going to end up playing in this game after he was expected to play minimal last week and then play a bunch this week. Because Anthony Richardson got banged up, that role ended up flipping. And so I think this line for Anthony Richardson is kind of like just really low. Like 55.5 seems to be egregiously low, especially because he's going to start. No, it's going to be Daniel Jones, then Anthony Richardson. So maybe by the time Richardson gets in, the game's a little bit of a blowout, maybe. And maybe he's going to be playing with backups, so maybe that's why his line is a little bit lower. But again, he's going to play the most snaps among the Colts quarterbacks and should play about 1.5 quarters in that game. And so, yeah, just an interesting spot for Daniel Jones as a whole. Now, I do want to call it the running back situation here for the Colts as well. Khalil Herbert is banged up. Okay, it seems like he's going to end up sitting, mispracticed on Thursday. And so we're not expecting Jonathan Taylor to play that much. There is a little bit of a running back 2 battle between Tyler Goodson and DJ Giddings. And just looking at Giddings on PrizePicks, guys, we're getting him at 21.5. If we look at his line on Underdog, it's at 19.5. To me, that's a little bit too low. Now, I know he didn't have like the highest rush total game last week, guys, 17 rushing yards, but he did have 6 rushing attempts. And now you tack on the fact that Khalil Herbert's a little bit banged up. I think this actually ends up being a pretty good opportunity for us. He did still see 22 carries or 22 snaps last week, and if he gets a slight increase, maybe gets 2 more carries as well. And then game script wise, guys, as well, he's not expected to start. It is expected to be Tyler Goodson. So with that, DJ Giddings then for over 19.5 points makes sense in a game that is projected to be a little bit of a blowout. Now from there, we got to talk about Ashton Dulin as well. Guys, Ashton Dulin played 36 snaps. That is a ton of snaps. And for what it's worth, guys, Mitchell also played a lot of snaps, played 35 snaps as well. Both of their receiving yards lines are, to me, pretty darn low and a little bit too low. Now, again, as always, guys, it's all about making the best decisions possible. Mitchell is at 20.5 on PrizePicks. I do think that ends up being a good spot. And it is worth calling out as well. They are a little bit banged up there in terms of the starters. And obviously, they're trying to get good looks at their quarterbacks. So these type of players are going to play more. So Downs, Pierce, they're both banged up. So that means Mitchell, Dulin, and also Coleman Owen for what it's worth, guys. Coleman Owen played 37% of the snaps and actually was just a fun player. Ended up with 5 targets in that game as well. I was hoping that we would get a prop bet for him. We're not, though. All right, so now we got to talk about the Green Bay Packers. Again, they are kind of expected to be playing from behind in this game. And we do need to go through the injuries, guys. So Jaden Reed banged up. Romeo Dobbs is apparently, I guess, good to go. Didn't practice though on Thursday. He's not getting that questionable tag. Well, we'll see. If he plays, I don't expect him to play that much. I don't expect the starters to play. Okay, Matthew Golden, we'll see if he ends up playing. He won't play much as well. Christian Watson is still out, obviously, and then Dontavian Wicks is out as well. They're not showing it, but I believe Savion Williams is also still banged up as well. We'll see if he ends up playing. Okay, he has been. Some of that has been injured. They had a practice where their top 5 receivers, or top 6, 5 of their top 6 receivers were out. Okay, they've looked terrible in practice as a result of Jordan Love being banged up and him also, all the receivers being banged up. So he's some of that struggling in camp. If he can't go, though, that leaves a bunch of opportunities for a bunch of players. Now, you got Mecole Hardman and Malik Heath both playing for a roster spot specifically. And then we have some players that make sense to get a lot of snaps as well. But let's talk about Malik Heath. Malik Heath, guys, ended up playing 30 snaps in that last game. And I will say his line does seem to be correct. Okay, 25.5 receiving yards, but he might even get more looks in this game. Okay, so he did get 4 targets in that game. Had a bad drop. He looked bad, but he can only look better from last week. So maybe that's a spot that we could get to. Hardman himself ended up playing 22 snaps. He's some of that be in line to get a little bit more extended work in this game as well. Don't hate the idea of getting to him as well. Julian Hicks to me is one of the more interesting ones. He has looked decent at times. Only played in 18 snaps though last week, guys. The Packers looked terrible last week. That's my concern, is that they might look bad again this week. So they just might want to get out of there type of game. He is some that would make sense to get some more work. And if they do look better, if the Packers just look better in general, he should, I would say, pretty easily be able to get that over. Okay, we're banking on getting more playing time. If you want to get there potentially in a game stack, a logical game stack, I don't mind that. It does feel like we're forcing it a little bit though. All right, guys, so let's go ahead now and jump on into the next game. And I want to call it the receiver position here for the New England Patriots. Okay, so they already are not having that many players in total in camp, and they have a bunch of competition here at the receiver position. We know Stephon Diggs is not going to play in this game. Bourne probably not going to play, and then Jalen Polk being someone that we have to watch and see if he's going to play as well. That leaves us with a lot of opportunities to go to some of the younger receivers, and one of those players that has really stood out in camp and had a good game in the preseason as well, Afton Chisholm. Okay, he ended up playing in 30 snaps last week, which is a ton, and it's lining up for him to get that again. And one thing I liked about him as well, they gave him manufactured touches. Okay, they wanted to see what he could do with the ball in his hands, and he looked good doing it. I mean, just phenomenal play there. And then there's this play here as well where he gets open early on a little crossing route. DB almost gets back there, but ends up scoring a touchdown there. And when we look at the lines that we are getting for him, I think they're correct, 25.5 receiving yards. But guys, he did have 8 targets, and we saw that they were kind of easier catches as well. And again, 6 receptions, scored that touchdown, 50 yards as well. Very impressive there. And again, it aligns for him to get a decent amount of work as well. Now, one thing that is funny about preseason is you got someone like Larson who, in this blurb on Underdog here, guys, they are showing that he is placed on the IR. He is not going to play. Land Larson, who is a player that I liked a lot last week, he is on the IR. Why are they giving us a prop bet for him? I was really hoping once I saw his name pop up on the board that we'd begin some like Terrell Jennings prop bets, because I'm like, oh man, that'd be a great spot for us, because if we're getting Larson prop bets, that means we're going to get Jennings prop bets as well, because he's in line to get a lot of work. No, we're not. But given the fact that we're getting Larson at 18.5 rush yards, I would expect Jennings to get a lot of work in this game as well. So the Patriots had to sign a running back, Watts, but this is a spot I have to call it, guys. So yeah, they're banged up. They brought in Prince there, who ended up getting injured, unfortunately for him. They have Watts there. You got Stevenson. He's probably not going to play, a little bit banged up. You also have Henderson as well. I think he's proven himself at this point. He'll play with the starters a little bit. And then we're looking at Gibson. Well, you get a little bit of work, but Jennings is the one that makes the most sense to get a lot of work. So I'm annoyed that we don't have that line. If we get it, guys, at like the same one as Larson, yes, I would be betting that over and feeling pretty good about it there as well. Now, let's jump into the Vikings here as well. We're getting some interesting lines, I would say, for them. The starters are expected to sit in this game. I don't know how much we can expect of the quarterbacks in terms of playing time. They are 3 deep at the quarterback position. So I'm just kind of staying away from there at that as well. In regards to some of the players like Jalen Naylor, I don't know how much work he's going to get as well. He's kind of their number 2 right now. He is fighting it out for in between some players like Lucky Jackson and Ty Felton. I didn't see enough on film to say, all right, those two have like leapfrogged him or even close to doing that. Well, obviously Jordan Addison is suspended, but Lucky Jackson, guys, he ended up playing a bunch of snaps, and he is the one that's been getting the most hype out of camp as well. Ended up getting 4 targets in the game, 3 receptions for 30 yards. And this is another spot. We're just kind of looking at the line that we're getting. I think we could bet on the over because I do think that those snaps are going to continue to be there for him, especially when we look at their depth chart as well. Naylor's a little bit banged up as well. Now, the flip side of that is, all right, their top 3 receivers are all a little bit banged up, and I believe Addison can play in this game. I could be wrong, and that's something that could happen as well. Maybe it's extended playing time in this game because he's out. But it does make sense for someone like Jackson to get a decent amount of work in this game as well. So I really don't mind that over for his receiving yards there. It is worth calling out, guys. Xavier Scott ended up playing pretty well last week as well. I don't want to bet on anything for him. The snaps were pretty much spread out evenly, guys, for the running backs. 18 for him, and basically 18 for all the rest of the starting running backs as well. We're not expecting Jones and Mason that much, but that's still not enough. Okay, it is 3 running backs, though. 18 snaps. Probably getting 6 carries each. A little bit appealing, but not enough for me to go crazy with, especially with the game being a game that's projected to stay close. Like if they're favored to win by 6.5 points, we could talk about it. Now, jumping on into the next game, we got Cleveland versus Philly. A very interesting spot. Just the Browns making some interesting moves. Like they are like just based off of pre-draft hype. They have a top 10 receiver in the draft now with Isaiah Bond signing with them or about to sign with them. You got Junkins as well, arguably the second best running back in the draft. And then you have the quarterback, Shedeur Sanders, who everyone thought was the second best quarterback in the draft as well. Kind of interesting there in that regard. And for what's worth, guys, like when we look at the receiver room, they're getting pretty banged up and they're pretty thin there as well. You can kind of see why they felt the need to probably go out and sign Isaiah Bond. We'll talk about this in just a second, but let's get back into the quarterback room. Dillon Gabriel is expected to play a bunch in this game if he's healthy enough. It's very weird, right? If he does end up playing in this game, I don't see how he doesn't get the same amount of work as Shedeur Sanders got in the last game. Now, he could end up sitting to the point where we might get a full game of Tyler Huntley as well, and maybe Gabriel's just like an emergency quarterback at that point, but we should get that clarity. And so I do find it funny that they're giving him a reception or interception line there, and I will say I'm a little bit interested in betting on that. He probably will throw a pick if he plays. Let's be honest, especially if he is a little bit banged up. But it's a little bit risky because he does have a little bit of a hamstring injury. But again, why would you play him if you're worried about him injuring that during the game? So I like his over here of 101.5 passing yards. Okay, I won't say I love it. Reports out of camp have said that he has not looked as good as Sanders, which I would say a lot of people would actually kind of expect that, right? But still, I think the reason why Sanders didn't play the full game is because he played so well in that game to the point where like, all right, Tyler Huntley, get in there. I think the same is going to apply to Dillon Gabriel, where the expectation is he's going to play a majority of the game. If he's not playing well, he could end up playing a full game. But we're going to get a half of football out of him, probably more than that. So I really don't mind the over 101.5 passing yards. Now, it does not feel the same as when we're getting Sanders at this. Remember, I did a video saying bet him at 100, and then there's another video that I did where I'm like, all right, bet him at over 125. And then I think I might have even done another video, or maybe it's on the recap, where he got to like 150. I'm like, all right, we don't need to do that. It's not exactly that here. I do expect this line to go up, though. Again, if he's healthy, he's going to play, and he should play a lot. And so let's talk about those receivers again for the Browns. So the stars are not expected to play. So that includes Jerry Jeudy and Cedric Tillman. You got Jeremiah Thrash and Deontay Johnson who are going to start the game. Probably not going to play too much, especially for Deontay Johnson. One of my favorite players from last week, guys, had one awesome catch, a 30-yard catch, and then got injured on that catch, injuring his hamstring. He's on the IR. Not technically on the team. Then you also have another player that stood out in camp as well, Gage here as well, who's a little bit banged up. Well, we got to see if he's going to play. Probably not going to play in this game, but we got to get that confirmation, and that leaves them pretty darn thin then at the receiver position. Now, one player that played a bunch and wasn't all too productive was Cade McDonald. Okay, he ended up playing 41 snaps. And what we're going to notice is that we're not going to be getting any lines for him. I do think that makes a little bit of sense. They might be waiting to see if Gage plays or not, but that was a lot of snaps. We can't ignore that. Caden Davis is someone that also played a decent amount of snaps as well, played 28 snaps. He ended up only getting 3 targets, 3 receptions, 23 yards as well. I would say his line at 20.5 receiving yards is mostly correct. Slight prop line difference between Preseason and underdog if you guys want to get to that bet, but I am mostly interested in McDonald there. I think that could be a good spot for us. Now, another player that played a bunch, and I typically hate betting on tight ends. I do. It's typically like just not a good spot because their production is more fluky. They never get design plays to them. Again, I do like targeting those players are going to get manufactured touches, receivers. But Sal ended up playing, guys, 38 snaps. And I give him 4 targets, 3 receptions, 32 receiving yards. Now, the issue is that they didn't really play their starting rookies that much. Dylan Sampson played 8 snaps, and then Fannin as well, the other tight end, only played 8 snaps as well. So there is some talk that those 2 rookies could end up getting a lot more work in this game, to the point where someone like Sal might not play that much. But even if Fannin plays a lot, like Sal still makes sense to get some work, guys. I guess I wouldn't hate it there. But as always, it's all about making the best decisions possible. If you guys want to bet him on prize picks, 1 yard difference, not terrible. And then we go ahead and get into the Eagles here. So we are going to see Tanner McKee, one of my probably worst calls last week. It was. I kind of expected him to not play that much because I kind of expected them to give some work to DTR and Kyle McCord. They are still, again, playing 3 quarterbacks, but McKee played most of the snaps. Okay. And again, I didn't see that happening. That's what happened. If he does end up playing a lot, I do like some of the bets that we could get for some of the pass catchers, because some of the pass catchers played a bunch for the Eagles. And I do want to call it, we are getting 2 pretty decent prop line differences. 2 yard difference here for Johnny Wilson compared to prize picks. Then the other player that we're going to be betting on, a pretty massive difference, okay? Prize picks has him at 30.5. Underdog has Darius Cooper at 26.5. Both of these players have been players that have gotten a bunch of hype out of camp. Johnny Wilson was someone that got a bunch of hype out of camp last year and kind of continued as well. And I'm going to get into a little bit more. The biggest factor of whether or not these are going to be good bets is whether or not Elijah Cooks end up playing in this game, because he was someone that was getting basically the most hype out of the receivers in camp as well. Probably not going to play. We haven't gotten an update injury report from him recently. Guys, this is from the 9th, this injury report. That's Saturday. So we need to get an update here. He's someone that played and I believe got injured during the game, which led to, I think, both Cooper and Johnny Wilson getting a bunch of work. So in that game, guys, Cooper played in 48 snaps. Okay, so if he's going to do that again, and I'll show you guys what he did. 7 targets, 6 receptions, 82 yards. Yeah, I like that over. And then as well, Johnny Wilson as well, guys, 6 targets, 3 receptions. He played the most snaps, 57. He basically did not leave the field. He was basically on the field with Tanner McKee for all of his plays as well. Yeah, it's another one where I do not mind the over there as well. We're hoping for a pass-heavy script. We're not hoping for rushes in this freaking game if we are betting on these overs. But again, they played a bunch of snaps. They should play a lot as well. All the starters are going to sit again for Philly. And an added bonus for this bet would be Marshall sitting as well. Another player that will probably get a lot of snaps is Smith, guys. Smith played 34 of the snaps as well. So a decent amount of snaps there. But the 2 that we're targeting, Cooper and Wilson. Because let's just face it, guys. If Brown and Smith sit Dotson, you wouldn't expect to play too much. Then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 other receivers if these 2 end up sitting. And again, these lower players probably not going to play too much. Okay, so that's the appeal there. And this touchdown run here for him as well, just very much impressive. I mean, look how he bounces to the outside twice there to get in for what looks like an easy touchdown. Just very good stuff from Powell. It'll be interesting to see if he ends up getting more work. Only ended up with 17 snaps last week. Now, he's obviously not going to be anyone we are betting on, but just a fun player that I saw in film that I wanted to show you guys. I mean, maybe if we get a good line, we could. Now, we are going to get into Carolina versus Houston, guys. I don't like anything too much for Carolina, but I will say, Rico Dowdle in this game is a little bit interesting. The Stars are expected to play another series, so 3 series in this game. He only had 3 carries in the last game, 7 yards. Maybe ends up getting a little bit more. That was the only thing that really stood out to me. But with Houston, I do think we could potentially begin one decent spot with them. And that would actually be with John Mechie here as well. It just makes sense for him to get more work or a decent amount of work. So guys, in his last game, he ended up playing 30 snaps as well, which was a lot. We see he had 8 targets in that game, 5 receptions, 45 receiving yards there as well. Overall 22.5. It makes sense for him to continue to get work as well. It makes sense for him to basically have the same production that he had last week. So I don't mind the spot for him. I think it's a spot where we can bet him and bet on the targets. Like as I'm recording this video right now, Nick Nash is someone for Atlanta who nailed the spot. Guys, he ended up with 3 catches, 14 receiving yards, but had 7 targets. Had a bunch of air yards as well. 7 targets, 3 catches. Kind of annoying there. Need better quarterback play. You can be on the right spot just with preseason. The talent gap, in this case with Easton Stick not being able to hit him, does play a big role sometimes. But I do like Mechie here a decent amount. And then the last game that we're going to touch on, guys, is going to be the Niners. Okay, so I don't know really what to expect with them too much. They are a team that is pretty darn banged up. I will say Corey Kiner was someone I was really hyping up to you guys last week as a player that we should probably be betting on. If we got his profits, I didn't know if we would or not. And he's in line for a lot of work in this game here as well. So we ended up with 10 carries, 45 rush yards in that game. And we're only getting his line at 26.5, which sounds weird to say, but he should be in for a pretty healthy workload again in this game here as well. So I should call it like the starters are expected to suit up in this game. I don't know what that means. Like we like all the Falcons players suited up tonight, but the players that we thought were going to sit ended up sitting. And they're so banged up. And that's really the spot that I want to get into here, guys, with the running backs specifically. Jordan James still likely to sit. We got to get confirmation on that. Garendo is out. They also, unfortunately, guys, Amir Abdullah ended up looking good, getting injured, though, in that game as well. They are extremely thin there. And it makes sense for Kiner, someone like him who looked fine, nothing great, for him to continue to get some work in this game. So it probably would feel like we're forcing it a little bit because I will say not as guaranteed of a role, I guess, with them having Vaughn there, bringing in a veteran running back, Jeff Wilson, but you wouldn't expect him to get that much work. He ended up getting 31 snaps in that game as well last week, guys. So 10 of those were carries. That's a little bit high, but for the most part, I like Kiner a decent amount as well. Now, I do want to talk about Jacob Cowan here as well. Okay, just in general, this could be an interesting player. So last week, guys, I was really hyping up Jordan Watkins as well as someone we would probably be betting on as well. He ended up getting injured. That's so annoying. Basically, all the players I was on last week seem to have gotten banged up, which is annoying. But Jacob Cowan, who was kind of a preseason camp last year, is apparently back. Now, he returned to practice on Tuesday. So it's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, maybe 3 practices. Got to see. He could end up being limited in this game. That'd be a worry. But he's someone that they do want to get going. And Watkins, guys, basically, he played 38 snaps in that game. Okay, got used a bunch. And if Cowan's good to go, that's kind of how they want to use him as well. So this would be a pretty terrible line if he was healthy. We'd be betting on this over a lot. But again, got to be a little bit cautious here. So now we go ahead and get into Oakland, guys. I would say for the starters, not much there. Cam Miller ended up coming in and playing well in a very limited role. It'd be interesting to see if he gets an expanded role. We haven't got any confirmation on that just yet. If he does, if we get news that he's going to play a lot more, a player that you could casually stack him with is going to be Jackson here, who ended up being the one that caught his touchdown. They've had a good camp together. He ended up playing 22 snaps last week. Could be an interesting spot there, but really there's not much there as a whole. All right, guys, so we're going to go ahead and get into the bet of the days for both prize picks and underdog. Do want to say, if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to give a like. That does help out the channel a bunch. Subscribe to the channel if you guys have not done so before as well. And then if you guys are going to be betting on any of these platforms for the first time ever, make sure to use the links in the description below as well. That does help out the channel a decent amount. But let's go ahead and show you guys the underdog bet of the day here. We're looking at DJ Giddings. We're kind of game scripting here a little bit. Okay, DJ Giddings for over his rush yards. We're pairing that up with Julian Higgs, who I do think there's some meat on that line there that we can pick from there. Ashton Doolin should play a lot as well. Not exactly part of the game script, just a bet that I like. Dylan Gabriel, it's a little bit of a bet on him being healthy. That's a little bit of a concern for sure. Then we're going to do the 2 Eagles players as well, just betting on that same playing time continuing to be there for them. Wilson and Cooper for over their receiving yards. Also a bet, though, on Marshall and Cook sitting, guys. That's the name of the game. with preseason. That's how you get some of your edges. It's a little bit like NBA DFS, where it's the back end of back-to-back. Maybe you think a star player is going to sit. You place a bet that you maybe wouldn't if it weren't a back end of back-to-back. Like, I don't know, for example, last year, Giannis, it's back in the back-to-back. I'm like, maybe Giannis sits tonight. Let's look at Brook Lopez for his over PRA. And then when the news comes out that Giannis is indeed out, Brook Lopez's PRA goes up by like 5. Okay, kind of what we're trying to do there with those Eagles players. But I think that's already baked in there a little bit. And then 2 more as well. Corey Kiner for over 26.5 rush yards. I wish it was a little bit lower, to be honest with you. Just still betting on that workload, though. And then John Mechie should be in for a lot of snaps again, and I do expect him to get targeted heavily in that game. And then just on prize picks, guys, 2 bets that are a little bit better there in terms of the receiving yards. Mitchell should get a decent amount of work in this game. Should be in there with the starters. Maybe gets a little bit of work with Anthony Richardson as well. I mentioned I do like Richardson for over 55.5 pass yards as well. That's a bet that we can toss in here if we want to as well. And then Sal, the tight end for Cleveland, played a bunch, guys. We're just betting on that playing time to continue to be there for him. And I will say, I would probably be all right with actually tossing Anthony Richardson for over his 54.5 passing yards. Let's just include that in there with the bet of the day for prize picks as well. We'll reduce the payout a little bit. Don't necessarily love that. So if you want to place that on underdog, you can as well. Well, that's going to do it for the video, guys. Again, make sure to like the video. That does help out the channel a bunch. Subscribe to the channel if you guys have not done so before. If you'd like any of the tools available on 9to5sports.com, head on over there, get access to all the tools for a low monthly cost of $10 a month. I'll give you access to the NFL DFS optimizers, and then also the prize picks and underdog optimizers, as well as all the fantasy golf tools that are available on the website. Thanks for watching. Good luck. And as always, let's keep cashing.